is your plan next? Curry, naan bread, poppadoms, a cheesecake. So boring. We don't know. Life is confusing. That was a really good question. Hi everyone, it's Nat and welcome back to my channel. So I've reached the end of my masters. Well, nearly. I'm still doing my analysis. I've not reached the end of my masters at all, but I asked for questions on my Instagram in September. Very thankful, by the way, so thank you very much if you asked a question on my Instagram. I really appreciate it. I tried to film this video soon after I asked the questions in the car with Ben, like about an hour of footage, and you can only hear the car. Here I am filming it again. As you can see from my last video, things are going to start to be a bit more realer on this channel now. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that's happening in my life. This video is just going to be finishing my master's Q&A. I'm nearly finished. I'm just doing my analysis, so I'm basically finished. I'm finished all my experiments. I'm not in the lab anymore. I'm just tapping away my computer, making sure that everything's gone to plan. I put a little question thing on my Instagram, so if you want to be a part of videos in the future, you follow my Instagram. But if you have any other questions that I've not answered, leave them in the comments down below, or message me on Instagram if you want it to be a bit more private, you want it to be just bestie to bestie. I'll put the questions on screen. Some of them, I think maybe one or two, I added in just because it makes sense to answer that question, moving on from the questions that have been asked. If the lighting changes, I can't control the light, sorry babes. I've got my ring light, but it's I'm not gonna lie, I should probably invest in a better one. Yeah, let's hop into the video. Question numero uno. Do you feel your master's has helped you prepare you for a career in your field? Absolutely, 100%. The amount of skills I've learned this year is incredible. I've learned so many experimental procedures, how life and research works, day in the life of a PhD student, so much. So if you are wanting to learn experimental skills but not particularly wanting to do a PhD, if you just want to learn experimental skills to then get a job in industry, then recommend a master's because you learn so much. Because I know it's quite hard to get a job in industry if you don't have lab experience, but it's also good if you're thinking about a PhD but not 100% sure and you want to kind of test the waters, because you are going to be working day to day with PhD students. Sometimes you'll be doing some work with them, they'll help you, they'll teach you. It's a really good insight in what a PhD will be like if you're looking into it. So the next question is, did your master's interest you in going into research / doing a PhD? So the short answer is yes, but I will not be doing a PhD. So let me explain. I love research and I've loved spending 4 years, because obviously my undergraduate as well was biochemistry, so it's a research. I've loved spending 4 years learning all these techniques and studying kind of how the body works and all these biochemical processes. I've loved my supervisor, I've loved the people that I've met in my masters, and I would not be surprised if 4 or 5 years along the line I come back and do a PhD. But currently there are just other things that excite me more and that I want to pursue. I can always come back and do a PhD. I'm so happy that I've done a master's because it's given me the opportunity to, as I said, if in the future I decide actually I want to go back to it, then I can always go back to it. But currently there are just other careers in my mind that I just want to have a go at and see if I'd be any good, if I'd enjoy them. It's stupid, and a lot of people are like, why don't you just go into what you've done for 4 years? And it's like, yeah, fair enough. Academia has always been kind of a safe haven. I've always been good at academics in school. I enjoyed biochem, I enjoyed my masters. It's something that, as I said, I'm used to, so it's almost a safe option to kind of continue down that road. But the career itself just, it doesn't excite me. Something that I can always come back to. I've put myself in a position now with my masters that I have got enough qualifications that if I want to do a PhD, I can come back to it. I'm fortunate enough that I can take a year to figure out what I want to do. I know a lot of people are not in that position, so I am fortunate enough to do that. I look forward to going through this journey with you and figuring out what I want to do. Another question that I added in, which I get asked in person a lot, is, do you regret doing a master's since you don't want to go into science? As I said, I'm not 100% sure I will never want to go into science. When I obviously applied to the masters, going into research was an option. The reason for doing the masters was to kind of see what it's like. So I would never have gotten to this point unless I did the masters in the first place. So obviously, no, I don't regret doing it. A masters is good on your CV anyway. I had the best year. My supervisor is the sweetest, most amazing person in the world. I've met so many interesting people. Skills that I've learned will stay with me for the rest of my life. Definitely be useful in other careers that I may pursue in the future. video. I feel like I'm so nervous to say the wrong thing. I don't know why. I'm always scared that I'm going to say the wrong thing or not explain myself, but realistically, if I've not explained myself, then I'm sure someone will let me know and I can explain myself then. I need to just like I need to calm down and I need to just answer the question. If you could go back, what would you do differently? This is such like a cliche and like, oh, but I don't really believe in regrets. Like realistically, if you were to ask me like what's one thing you would go back and change in your life, I would say nothing, because realistically all of the things that have happened have brought me to who I am today and have brought the people in my life that I have today. So yeah, I'm not someone that really has regrets. What I probably would do a little bit different is maybe focus a bit more time on my masters, with the fact that I had a part-time job even though it was online, and I've been quite unwell throughout the year. I've not done as much as maybe I would have wanted to, but I'm still happy with everything that I've done and that I've achieved. Obviously I still have a year to kind of write up, so I think write up year is when you fully understand your project even more, when you're kind of got everything in front of you that you've done. I think one thing, but I can't do this differently because one, I couldn't have afforded it, and two, I really enjoy living at home, but one thing that I would have done differently is live in the city where your masters is being done. I was like commuting in, it was like a 40-minute commute, and that sometimes did feel like a bit much, especially when you're going in for like an hour, but I couldn't have helped it and I wouldn't change it because I really enjoyed being at home this year and being close to my family, considering when I moved here for uni I was alone for 3 years, so yeah, it's nice to have them. How did you find the study life balance? A master's is really good in that respect because you're very independent, you choose your own times, well, you manage your work independently, so unless you're tied to your experimental design, you can decide your own time. So if you just have a master's without any kind of like part-time jobs or anything around it, then yeah, the study life balance is pretty good. Even with a job, that's the next question. I think it's the same with a PhD. As I said, like a master's and a PhD, I think basically the same, except a PhD is longer and I guess you're expected to have a bit more experience, like I guess you're helped a bit less, but I think both masters and PhD do allow the freedom to make your own time. So if you're someone that really thrives in that environment of creating your own schedule and setting your own deadlines and stuff, then it's obviously really good fit. How did you manage a master's and working? I was very lucky and privileged in the fact that my job was online. I am a freelancer, so that means like I have multiple streams of income online. It was slightly easier for me to manage the both. I can imagine that if you're doing like shift work, it probably is a bit harder. But saying that, most people that were doing a master's with me had part-time jobs, I think, apart from a very select few, and they managed perfectly having a social life as well. A big part that I would suggest is just let your supervisor know that you need to work, because they can suggest a lot of jobs in the uni. So I know there's loads of like lab assistants job and they pay really well. Your supervisor will also be able to give you jobs that kind of work around your schedule. If you don't want to talk to your supervisor about it, then I'm sure your university website, your careers page will have opportunity. That's definitely something that I recommend if you do have to work while doing a master's, which I assume most people do because the master's loan is basically nothing. Because your master's is very independent work, you have deadlines, like you have a 6-month report due, certain meetings, but they're very easy in the sense of like if you can't make it, they'll just do it another day. As long as you don't take the piss with the deadline, it's very manageable, because I think people know that a lot of students do have to have a job. Definitely do recommend looking at all of the options available to you in terms of funding. I know there's loads of grants as well, bursaries, I don't know if that's the same thing. Definitely look into everything's available to you in order for you to kind of get the best experience possible. What was your hardest week? And I have to say that was probably my analysis week, I guess, when I got all my data and I had to analyze it all. More than hard, it was just so boring and monotonous. It took hours and hours and hours. Another hard week, I guess, was when I was writing my 6-month report, just because writing a report in general is hard. Figuring out what I'm doing, what I'm trying to achieve, reading loads of papers. I'm still doing my analysis, so that tells you how hard it is, considering I started it in September. I wasn't asked, but as I said, like I think it makes sense to answer it, which was, what was the best part of your master's? The best part of my master's was actually, we had this away conference and all of the PhD and master's students gathered and talked about their research. There was like free food. There was so much free food. You know, if you know me, you know, if there's free food, I am there. If there's a queue, I will queue for free food. They had like breakfast, then they had a snack, then they had lunch, proper like curry lunch, like not just sandwiches, not just like little snacks, not a packet of crisps, curry, naan bread, poppadoms, a cheesecake, then afternoon snack, the chocolate brownie. I can't even describe it to you. It just melted in it. Oh, it was beautiful. Unlimited drinks, unlimited anything. But sorry, I'm getting confused by the food now. But yeah, there was free food, which is amazing. But I remember being so nervous because we all had to prepare presentations for it. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna be embarrassing myself, like I know nothing. They're gonna ask me questions, I'm not gonna know what to say. And it was the chillest thing in the world. I think that happens a lot in situations where you kind of overhype. They're like, oh, it's gonna be so bad, and then you get there, and because you've overhyped in your head, it's like so chill. It was amazing. I loved hearing everyone's research, and I sat with like my little lab group, which I hadn't really mingled with a lot, just because they all had kids and stuff like that. And I actually ended up winning best master's presentation. I had to put that in there just because I was so proud of myself. So yeah, it was such an amazing day. What is your plan next? And that was an excellent question. That was a really good question. And the short answer is, my plan next is to figure out what I want to do with my life. So I've got a year to write up. Obviously, I'm going to try to write up as soon as possible. I want to try, fingers crossed, to finish my disc by December. The next year will just be try out some, well, not some careers. So one of my freelance jobs is a channel manager for a YouTube channel. So basically, I have to like create all the metadata, publish the videos, and then coordinate with the dubbing studio and just basically run the YouTube channel. And I've just really enjoyed it. The company I worked for also got acquired in kind of the year that I worked for them by a bigger company, and so there's quite a lot of opportunities now. It's not something that I ever thought I would go into, but I really enjoy it, and I know it's got nothing to do with what I'm doing now, but that's what I want to do, so that's what I shall be doing. Who knows, by the end of this year I could be doing a video saying, oh, I've applied for a PhD. We don't know. Life is confusing. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt of what I'm going to do next. I'm figuring it out. We all are. You got to try things to know if you like them or not, don't you? So me and Ben also want to go traveling, see the world a bit before we commit to a job, not put our roots down, but you know, like get a job and rent and all that. The last question, which someone asked, is how long is your disc? There's not really like a certain amount that you need to do. They say to keep it around 30,000. 2 people have to read it and like examine you on it. So if it's too many words, you might piss them off and bore them. And if it's too little, then you don't have enough time to explain what you want to say. So they say the sweet spot is around 30,000, which seems like a lot, if I'm being honest. Seems like quite a lot. Fingers crossed we have it done by December. Is it likely? Probably not, but... So those are all the questions I have today. I'm now gonna go make chicken pie. Ben's mum actually gave me the recipe. She makes the most banging chicken pie ever. So I'm gonna go make that, see how it works out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe down below. Add me on Instagram. I will put that in the description if you want to be able to ask me questions. I will see you all in my next video, which will probably be a vlog. I'm going to London this weekend with the girls. See you in my next video. I love you lots. Bye.